So they announced in 2021 that they are Ray Winnegar, the executive producer at D&D Celebration 2021, starts talking about the next evolution of D&D. And it's not really clear what that's going to be at the time. By August 2022, they announced one D&D,
Right.
which is kind of like this three-part initiative where they want to update, like really strengthen. They've acquired D&D Beyond in 2017, and they really want to strengthen like the digital part of their market.
Sure.
Um, and start venturing into like the virtual tabletop space. And they also they announced that they're going to do a revised fifth edition, basically.
Right.
Um, and in 2023, in December 2023, they do their first sneak peek of updated character classes at PAX Unplugged. And by March 2024, we have a release date for the new PHB.
Right.
There's something that happens
Oh,
in
I
the middle.
like the expression. Okay, something good happens in the middle of this. Yes,
Yeah,
tell
there's
me
something that
funny.
happens. Yeah, yeah. You and other savvy listeners may remember there was something that happened in December 2022, which is kind of right in the middle of that timeline. And that was the OGL debacle, is what happened in December 2022
Hmm.
to January 2023. It is like a month long thing, 2 month long thing.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the OGL debacle?
What I remember is that, okay, so my understanding of the original OGL, the open gaming license for D&D, essentially allows third parties to publish content using D&D rules as long as they properly attribute the origin of that rule set. And, you write a thing and it has what Wizards logo and like the D&D logo somewhere. Um, and it allows you, the third party creator, to profit off of your creations as long as there's some proper attribution to it. Uh, my understanding is that the initial change they proposed was going to retroactively change that and make all third party content now suddenly owe Wizards royalty fees, including royalty fees based on past sales somehow. I don't understand how that's legal, but apparently that is legal. Uh, and then everyone said, hey, hold on, no, we're all just going to stop playing and we're not going to pay you that money because that is very counter to the spirit of the last 45 years of D&D. And Wizards then said, oh, okay, wait, well, maybe we're not serious. And also, as I recall, issued a non-apology apology that basically said, all right, fine, you whiny little kids. We won't make you give us absurd amounts of money. It'll just be large amounts of money.
Hmm.
Um, and my understanding is then at that point they revised it further, and the OGL that I believe is currently in place, if I'm right about that, is more like it used to be. Third party creators are allowed to make things and monetize them if you properly attribute the rules to Wizards and D&D, and maybe now also owe them money, or that seems like it's coming, and I'm basing that on the fact that now Kobold Press, Hit Point Press, Dungeon Dudes, and like other people all have their books and their materials for sale on D&D Beyond now.
Mm.
So I think that's my recollection. There was a we're gonna update this. Everyone saying, "Hold on, no, the fuck you're not," and them going, "All right, fine, you whiny kids."
Yeah. So
How'd I do?
you did pretty good.
Okay,
Although
I'm sure there's a
there's
lot of details
there's
and
a
some
few things.
important things.
So
Yeah,
in 2000, when Wizards of the Coast publishes third edition, they also publish the OGL, the Open Gaming License, and the Open Gaming License was a big deal.
yeah,
Um, it basically means that you get to make stuff in the D&D universe using the D20 system, which they patented at that point.
uh-huh,
Um, and standardized loadout of, which is now like every single set of dice that you can get, the D4, the D6, the D8, the D10, the D12, the D100, and the D20. Those six dice are part of the D20 system.
yeah,
And the idea of like rolling a D20 and adding modifiers to decide like how the outcome of a luck-based event
Right.
That is part of the D20 system. They
Okay.
release that so that other people can build games on it. The same way that
Right.
like we have lots of games that are built on the Powered by the Apocalypse system.
Yeah.
They release the D20 game system as something that other people can build on. And as part of the language of the OGL, they say all third parties, which means like you, Joe Schmo, you rando in the crowd, can make something
Yeah.
using D&D, using the D&D rules and mechanics, as long as you avoid reproducing official characters, settings, stories, and art. You can't go remake Curse of Strahd, for example, and sell it, but you can make a lot and sell
Right.
it as long as it's properly attributed to Wizards of the Coast and D&D.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a pretty bold move, but it's a very cool thing that they did. And
It's really
then,
it's a gift to players and creators. It is we're going to
yes,
allow you to take this thing that we have monetized and monetize it for yourself.
it shows this incredible
Yeah.
understanding of like the community that they were interacting
Yes.
with.
Which they
Um,
seem to have lost that understanding in the intervening 25 years, but you know,
yeah. Isn't that interesting?
capitalism will do that to people.
Capitalism is a
That
hell of a drug, huh?
it does make me curious again as like I don't know if there's a 60-second aside how things like She is the Ancient happened because that is my understanding a just a rewrite of Curse of Strahd gender bent.
Um,
I don't know if there's ways of skirting it and like,
I believe that that deals with some loopholes of like,
okay.
well, Strahd's supposed to be a guy, so this is a girl, so it's different. But
Okay,
I'd really have
great.
to look into the
Yeah, no, that
specifics of
makes sense.
that.
We
It's
don't need to, yeah.
the thing is
Future
the
episode.
OGL allows
Yeah.
that, and as time has gone on, something that they really could not foresee in 2000 is the internet that we have now.
Yeah.
And with the rise of the internet, the OGL has allowed an incredible industry built on creating unlicensed D&D content to thrive online. This is how a lot of people like make their money. This is how
Yeah.
Roll20 works. This is how Cold Press works. This is how Drive Through RPG works. And so the OGL is the infrastructure upon which a lot of the surrounding industries around D&D work. Like that is what allows them to work. If you've ever bought homebrew content on DM's Guild, you can thank the OGL. The OGL is what allows that to be done. If you've ever used like a generator online to create monsters or to balance encounters, those are allowed by the OGL.
Hmm.
Um, and so
Right.
what happens is that in December 2022, right after WotC announces this initiative to really kind of shore up its brand, what gets released is OGL 1.1, a leak of OGL 1.1. And OGL 1.1 proposes several changes to the OGL. They want 25% royalties on any OGL creator earning over 750K per year. That's not you, an average
Okay.
citizen.
No,
That is
that's
that is Kobold Press and Roll20 and Drive Through RPG.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
They have in the new OGL the right for Wizards of the Coast to use any content created under the license for any purpose. Um,
Oh, ew.
and
Mm,
they have
okay.
a ban on virtual tabletops that are not published by Wizards. So, wow, that would be pretty rough for a
That's
lot of us.
I
Um,
I don't know how you enforce that, but that's also mind-bogglingly asinine and short-sighted.
it basically it takes it off all of these other virtual
Yeah.
tabletop sites and says you have to run it through D&D Beyond, which is interesting that they premiered the Maps beta on D&D
Well,
Beyond right around this time,
yeah,
right?
it's weird. Definitely no connection
Weird,
between those
definitely no
things.
coincidence.
Definitely
And
also they're making a vastly inferior product
for
to
sure.
current
For
BTT,
sure,
but
that is also very much based on a bunch of stuff that other people have already done before them.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and it deauthorizes anything made under the old OGL.
So is the legal way by which they're like, oh yeah, now all sales of this owe us royalties, even if it's stuff
Yes,
that was published about 3.5, 20 years ago, you still owe us
right,
money.
right.
Okay. I
So
see why people are mad.
So people are
Are
pretty
and
upset.
were.
People
Yeah.
are pretty upset about this. This obviously affects a huge number of people's livelihoods. It affects even things like Critical Role. Is it
Yeah.
okay for people to make actual plays if the OGL isn't a thing? It's not clear. It prompts a huge backlash, which Wizards tries to ignore. Then it gets leaked that they are trying to ignore it. Then they say they're gonna change it. Then it gets leaked that they're not gonna change it. They're trying to weather the Twitter storm. Then people start canceling their D&D Beyond subscriptions en masse.
Hmm.
And that is when Wizards cries mercy immediately.
We don't have a lot of power in capitalist society, and all we really have is purchasing power and trying to show people when you're really not going to put up with their bullshit by not paying them anymore.
Right. And that
Hit them in the wallet.
hit him in the wallet, and people did. The
Yeah.
number of unsubscriptions that happened were significant to the point where Wizards tried to hide the button so you couldn't unsubscribe. They literally went into the code of the website and were
Wow.
like, please, 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 please. And they ended up not just backpedaling, not just apologizing, because they'd already released an apology at this point. They ended up with an OGL that's even more permissive than the
Oh, wow.
original OGL,
Good.
which means that you can reproduce official characters and settings and stories and art now
Great.
and monetize it.
Good.
Like
That is the proper outcome
yeah,
to this
we've
fucking
actually removed
fiasco.
all of the limits. Just go wild. It's yours now.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah, as it fucking should be. Okay.
yeah.
You know,
So
you wish they had gotten to that point earlier instead of
earlier,
hiding
um,
their numbers and trying to
you
pretend
could have
like it
just backed
wasn't.
it up to the original OGL, but no, they were really crying mercy at that point. And
Yeah.
that is one of several examples, but certainly the most prominent in the last 5 years of Wizards fucking around and finding out, basically testing the D&D community
Yeah.
and getting kicked in the teeth in a
Yeah.
way that like really I struggle to think of any other product where you can get to the people who own it like this.
Yeah.
Um First of all, where they clearly the people making the decisions at the top don't understand the community they're working with,
Right.
right? Um and that's what we see over and over and over, right? Is that in the last 5 years, the community has exploded, right? It is bigger than ever before. It is more diverse than ever before. And Wizards can't stop fumbling the fucking bag.